If we explained the word integrity to define it, if I said to you, what's it mean to you? We may hear comments like this. Integrity is being in private what you portray yourself to be in public. Often we would say that would be integrity. Being the same at home as we are out of the home. The real deal, and not putting on. And integrity in the dictionary says this: entireness, which means no part missing. Moral soundness, purity. We often link truth with integrity, and rightfully so. Uprightness, honesty, an unbroken state. An unbroken state. I think of that word entireness, unbroken. Many times we'll stay at hotels. You've done the same. You walk down, and lots of times there's a complimentary breakfast. And oftentimes there'll be the little tower there with the lid that you can take off, and underneath there is donuts or bagels or something like that. If you came down and it was the hotel and you're hungry in the morning and you lift that lid off of there and there's a glazed donut, and someone put donuts in the house for us. Thank you for that. But if there's a glazed donut there, and maybe there's 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, and one has a bite taken out of them, you immediately would bypass that particular donut, unless you're one of my children. Maybe they would eat it. I don't know. But you know what the problem with that donut is this. Watch, it's lost its integrity. There's a part missing. All right? And it is broken, if you would. And it's not in entireness any longer. 16 times in the Word of God we find this word integrity. We see it here in the life of Job. Job chapter 1, you know the story. What a phenomenal guy. God brags on Job. Job chapter 1. The Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job? Job was probably like, oh, thanks, God. I appreciate you bringing me up in this situation. But what an example Job was, and God was proud of Job and bragging on Job. And there's none like him in all the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Does Job God fear thee for naught? Has not thou made a hedge about him and about his house and about all that he hath on every side, that thou hast blessed the work of his hands and his substance and increased in the land? But put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. You know what? Go ahead and touch Job, and you'll find out he's not all that you think he is. Go ahead and take from Job the blessings, and he'll lose his integrity. He'll drop you, God. He'll turn his back. And we know the story. Notice this chapter 2 comes back through. And Job had lost everything, seemingly. And he's there and just broken and been through so much. And in chapter 2, verse 3, And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? And still, and here God uses the word, he holdeth fast his integrity. Although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. Integrity. God says of Job, he did not fail. He did not give in. He did not break. He is still a man with integrity. And what an awesome pattern Job is. Integrity in our life is this. I went to Bible college, and in Bible college, we'd have to fill out an activity report. Activity report would indicate if you went to Sunday school, if you went to church, if you went on a ministry, out on soul winning, how long you went out on soul winning. And here we are as men in Bible college preparing for the ministry. And I was amazed, Pastor Pete, at how many guys would lie on their activity reports. And I thought, we're not fooling God. We either have integrity or we don't. How do we train for the ministry and we're dishonest men, dishonest women? At work, the boss may say, hey, every day you get a 30-minute lunch. Can I say the person with integrity takes 30 minutes? And the person who lacks integrity might go, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, maybe an hour. Doesn't really matter that much. Integrity. I was just talking to Doug. He's the man that's in sales. Some of you may be in sales as well. And sometimes people, you know it's true. You're listening to the salesperson and you question whether or not they're people of integrity. And if I twist the truth, I may make a sale and make a few dollars. And can I tell you, there's people all over the world out there that are doing just that. And we've been on the receiving side of that at times, to where they lied to us to make a sale, to make some income. And we find out, sadly, that they were not people of integrity. Been in the Christian school movement for many years. You find out if your class has integrity when you say, listen, I need to go get a copy off the copy machine. I'm walking out of the room. I want you to sit here and I want you to work on this page, and I don't want anyone to talk. And then we'll see who really has integrity. And we could go on and on and on about integrity and how it is really intertwined in our life. And if we really are people with integrity. Notice this, put this down if you would, letter I. Let's say this about integrity. It's an individual thing. It's an individual thing. Can I say this to you? No one can give you integrity. No one can give you integrity. We're here, we've talked about being parents. You cannot give your children integrity. You can have it in front of them, but you cannot hand that to them. Can I also say this? No one can take away your integrity. It is an individual thing. My dad's a man of integrity, and I thank God for that. He's not a perfect man, but he cannot give me integrity. I have to have my own integrity. But also the blessing is this: no one can take away your integrity. You could sit here this afternoon and tell me probably some of us in our homes, in our life, have been surrounded by people who do not have integrity or who did not have integrity. Can I tell you, that does not impact or influence whether or not you have integrity. It's an individual thing. No one can give you integrity, but no one can take your integrity away. I love sports. We often say this when it comes down to sports: there's no I in team. There's no I in team. It's not about an individual. It's about all of us banding together. Well, listen to me. In integrity, there's two I's, and it all depends on the individual. It's an individual thing. In Job chapter 2, verse number 9, we see here that Job's wife said unto him, "Dost thou still retain thine integrity?" Job, after all this has happened to us, you still have integrity. And Mrs. Job looked at Job and said, "Why don't you curse God and die?" Job was a man who retained his integrity, but his wife did not. I love the Bible character Joseph. And in Genesis chapter 37, we read about Joseph bringing to his father, concerning his brothers, their evil report. Here's Joseph, and his siblings did not have integrity. His brothers did not have integrity. And he's saying to Dad, "Dad, they are not what you think they are. The way they act in front of you, Dad, they're really not the way you think they are." And here we have Joseph as this young man, and his brothers did not have integrity. But listen to me, Joseph had integrity. And Job's wife did not have integrity. And I'm not beating her up. She went through a lot. But she said, "Curse God and die." And Job said, No. We'll do the right thing. And Job maintained his integrity. I think of 1 Samuel chapter 19 with Jonathan and Saul. Saul comes to Jonathan. Can you imagine this? A father coming to his son and says, "Hey, you need to murder David. Jonathan, if you don't kill David, he's going to be the next king, and I want you to be the next king." And you know what? Saul did not have integrity, Jonathan's dad. But Jonathan had integrity. And he's like, "Absolutely, I won't do it." So sitting here today, I don't know who around you has integrity. They may or they may not. But that has no bearing on whether or not you have integrity. It is an individual thing. You can have it if you want it. Next, put this down, letter N. No one may know that you don't have it. You're going to say, "Man, this is not a good sentence for an English teacher," but you know, all right? No one may know that you don't have it. No one may know that you lack it. But let me say this, put a little ... but you know. As we sit here today and we talk about being true blue, being in private, what you are in public. There's no skeletons in our closet. There's no other life. What I listen to it in my car by myself is what I listen to with my family. What I see is what you see is what you get. And can I say this to you though? No one may know that you don't have it, but you know. In John chapter 13, Jesus talking to his disciples. And if we go there in the story, and we won't for sake of time, you can look it up later. But he said this, Jesus said, "One of you will betray me." Remember the story? And his disciples looked around and doubted of whom he spake. Here they are, they're all sitting there. He says, "One of you is going to betray me." And can I tell you what Judas knew? It's me. And I don't have integrity. And right now, these guys sitting around me don't know, but he knew. And he knew right then. And you do know. You remember Jonah? All of a sudden, the boat gets in the storm. And the storm is rocking, and they're throwing things overboard, and they're all wondering, what in the world happened? And they go down, they wake him up, Jonah, Jonah. And he stands up and he says, it's me. I'm the guy who's not doing the right thing. And the reason we're in this mess is because they didn't know. They're asking who he was. He tells them he's a preacher, he fears God and all that. And he knew right away that they were in that storm because he was a man who lacked integrity. I'm not a huge golf fan, but golf requires you to have integrity, especially if you play like me. When I do play, I wind up in the woods. When I'm in the woods, I'm usually there by myself. When I swing at the golf ball and I hit the stick and the leaves because I'm in the woods and it moves about 6 inches, was it really a stroke or not? Some of you say, no, it wasn't. In a few minutes, finally, I'm going to putt in and someone's going to look at me and say, what'd you get? And I'll find out, am I a man of integrity or not? We mini golf, putt, whatever you call it, miniature golf. And you've all been there. You've all been the scorekeeper. What'd you get? 3. What'd you get? 4. And you look and you're like, all right, I got 4. And you're watching them. They're hitting the ball as it's rolling around, just kind of steering it into the hole. And you know how that goes. But it requires integrity. Integrity. Trav and I sang a song when he was just young. It's called I Would. It's on one of the CDs. And it tells the story about 2 little boys and wanting to take some candy from a store. It goes kind of like this. I'll see if I can remember the words. I have not sung it in a long time. But 2 little boys were staring at the candy on display when one whispered to the other with the clerk looking away, just put it in your pocket and no one will ever know. And we'll eat it all before we get back home. Well, that little boy just stared down at the candy on the shelf, and you could almost hear the conversation he had with himself. Then he gave the clerk $1, took the candy and his change, gave half to his buddy and explained, no matter who's watching, no matter who sees, Jesus in my heart knows how wrong that would be. And when I'm home and Mama asks me, have you been good? Though she would never know, I would. It's so true. You and I know if we have integrity. Now little boys, they grow up, and temptations grow up too. And we're living in a world that says, do what you want to do. What they don't know won't hurt them is the devil's battle cry. But a godly man knows that is just a lie. No matter who's watching, no matter who sees, Jesus in my heart knows how wrong that would be. And then it changes. And when the Holy Spirit asks me, have you been good? Though the world would never know, I would. Though the world might not ever know, me and Jesus would. Can I tell you, sitting here today, you know, ladies, and you know, gentlemen, if you're people of integrity. And can I say this to you? Eventually, everyone will know. Eventually, everybody will know. Be sure your sin will find you out. And can I say this? Before your life blows up, before whatever it is that you may be doing that you should not be doing, you'd be very wise to fix what is broken. Amen. Because it will come to light. We'll talk more about that. Put this down, letter T, truth. Truth. In Proverbs chapter 12, verse 22, the Bible says this, lying lips are an abomination. Lying lips are an abomination. We're talking about integrity. It's an individual thing. No one may know that you don't have integrity right now, but you know. And then letter T, truth. We have got to be people who always tell the truth. Every relationship is built on trust, and trust is based on truth. You know, the Bible says this about people that lie. Revelation 21:8, all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone. There's something wrong with someone who is dishonest. And I get it. Kids will tell lies from time to time, but they should not be liars. That's a problem. And you and I need to always be people of truth, people that can be trusted. My dad would tell me all the time, Mike, if you're not honest, you're not anything. If you're not honest, you're not anything. Honesty is God's policy. You study it out in Scripture, and it's just so, so important. Honesty is God's policy. Some of you've worked with young people, and I've done for many times, and sometimes in our junior churches, we'll play what we call the clapping game. And it kind of goes like this. We could do it with me today if you want. When I clap, you clap. Ready? Here we go. Don't be too, I'm not tricking you. Here we go. Ready? And then we'll go up, and I'll say, anyone who just claps, sit down. You know what it is? It's an integrity test. And then they sit there and they go, I didn't clap. And their friend is like, you clapped. I didn't clap. You know, yes, you did. No, my hands touched, but I didn't clap. You know, whatever it might be. And that's a game where I'm like, oh, man, why do I even do this? You know, but honesty is so important, so important. I remember one time we had a young man that was going to come to our Christian school. And his father was, our school is pretty much just our church young people. But if there's other pastors' kids or people in the ministry of like faith, like standards, we'll make exceptions for that. And Jeff was this young man, and his dad was starting a church, and it was about 30 minutes away. His dad called and said, hey, I'd like for Jeff to come to your school. At that time, Jeff was in a little bit of a bigger school, but it wasn't nearly as conservative, and his dad just felt it would be a better fit. And so he's like, would you meet with him and just talk to him about it? I said, sure. And I remember it was a Sunday afternoon, and I'm supposed to meet with Jeff about the school. And he said, I'll call you after church, and then you guys can meet up. And I was going to go to their house. Well, I waited, and I waited, and I waited. It was Sunday afternoon, and I thought, hasn't called me yet. I'm just going to head toward his house. That way, when he calls, I don't have as long of a drive. And so I'm driving there to Jeff's house to talk to him. He was going to be a junior that year about school. And as I'm there, I'm about halfway to his house, and my phone rings, and it's my cell phone, and I answered, hello, this is Brother Mike. Hey, Brother Mike, this is Jeff. I know you're supposed to meet with me today, he said, but it's really not a good day to meet. He said, you weren't on your way here yet, were you? And I said, no, Jeff, it's fine. Don't worry about it. All is well. And I said, we'll talk another day. And so I hang up the phone. And I turn the car around, and I start hearing, you weren't on your way here yet, were you? And my response, I was worried about his feelings. I didn't want him worrying about it. It wasn't a big deal. He said it wasn't a good day. He's wrestling with if he even wants to. And he asked you if you were on your way to my house. You're the principal of the school. You're talking to this young man that you're praying about having the opportunity to influence, and you just lied to him. But it's really not that. I'm like, oh, man. I take my phone out, Pastor Pete. His number's on there because it's a cell. I call him back. I said, Jeff. He didn't even know me that well at this time. I said, you're going to think I'm a nut, and you're going to think I don't need to do this. But a minute ago, you asked me, was I on my way to your house? Yes, I was. But it's not a big deal, and I'm not coming to your house, and I'm not trying to twist your arm about it. But I wasn't honest. I was on the way. I don't even want you to feel bad about it, but I wasn't truthful when I said, no, don't worry about it, because I was. And he's just kind of like, okay. Yeah, you're like a kid would be, all right, thanks. Now I'm not coming to your school for sure, but whatever. But you know what? And I hung up the phone. But listen to me, we've got to live by this principle of truth. It matters. It matters. God was never dishonest. Moms, we should never be dishonest. Dad, we should never be dishonest. Our children, they've got to learn we have to be people of truth. It's impossible to separate truth from integrity. It's impossible. Next, letter E. Everyone is affected by it. Everyone is affected by it. I think of this, Romans 5:12. Whereas by one man, sin entered into the world. Isn't this true? And death by sin. And so death passed upon all men. 6,000 years ago in the garden, Adam and Eve lost their integrity. They did the wrong thing. They disobeyed. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. They tried to hide. And you know what? It has affected everyone in this world since. And that's the way it goes. And that's the way integrity is. Sin is destructive. Sin ruins everything it touches. Can I say this? Everyone is affected by integrity or not. Wives, if you don't have integrity, it's going to affect your home in a bad way. Husbands, if you don't have integrity, it's going to affect your home in a bad way. Do you know how many husbands find out the wife was on Facebook and this happened? Or wives find out the wife was on the computer and this is what's being viewed? Can I tell you, children are affected by it, husbands are affected by it, wives are affected by it. Here's these children, they find out our dad's not what we thought he was. Mom and dad aren't what we thought they were. Sadly, ministries, churches, pastors not what we thought he was. And this is happening all over our country and all over the world. Good people, everyone being affected by the fact that someone has lost their integrity. And everybody is affected by it. It's just an awful thing. Can I say this? It hurts, and it hurts badly. When you find out, parents get hurt when they find out their children don't have integrity. They're not what we thought they were. We thought they were okay, and I didn't see this, but now I found out. Everyone is affected by it. Can I say this? As you consider whether or not you have integrity, and maybe what that thing is in your life that would cause you not to have it, is it worth hurting that person? Because they will be hurt. Everyone is affected by it. Put this down next, letter G. God knows. God knows. We said this, no one may know that you don't have integrity, but can I say this? Right here this morning, God knows exactly who you are. I think of Acts chapter 5 with Ananias and Sapphira. They come up and boy, everybody was giving and they were revival going on, and we're just a giving church and everybody's giving, and for whatever reason, they wanted to appear more spiritual than they were. They didn't have to give all of it. But they come up, and this is exactly what they did. They portrayed themselves to be more spiritual than what they were. They kept back part of the price of the property. Remember that? And they wanted it to be that everyone thought, and they agreed together. And Acts 5 teaches, you didn't lie to man, you lied to God. And he saw right through it. And both of them wound up dead. Can I say this? God knows. God knows who has integrity. And again, as we said earlier, eventually everyone will know. Eventually everyone will know. Good and bad, by the way. We're not just being negative. I encourage students that say, you know what? They're passing a test around, and kids are cheating, but I bypassed it. And maybe my grade is a C, and everybody else that was cheating got A's and B's. Can I tell you, God knows. He'll bless you. I didn't lie for that sale. I took the break I was supposed to take. I did the right, God knows. And He also knows when we do the wrong thing. Can I tell you, more important than anything else in this world is God's approval on your life. And God knows if you're what you say you are, what you portray yourself to be. Letter R, right behavior always. Right behavior always. We have to ingrain in our lives and in the life of our children that we will do right all the time. I love, and we mentioned it earlier, Daniel chapter 1, verse 8. Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself. Daniel had been plucked up from Jerusalem, taken to Babylon. Daniel's name had been changed. Daniel's friends had been changed. Daniel's parents were not there. And you know what he said? I'll have the integrity that I had back home while I'm here in Babylon. because he was a young man with integrity. A few chapters later, we see 3 Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Bow, or you will burn. And they said, we're not careful to answer thee. Right behavior, always, we will not bow. And they held their integrity. They did what was right, and God saw that. We've got to have this mindset. We always do what is right. Situational ethics is all over our world. Well, in this situation, or this or that and the other. No. We've got to do right all the time. I remember Travis was little, and we were teaching him that, Travis, after you use the restroom, you always wash your hands. So we're at the dinner table one time, and I remember he's like, Dad, I got to use the restroom. I said, all right, you may go. So he runs into the restroom, and he's back in like a flash, I said, Trav, did you wash your hands? No, sir. I said, go back, wash your hands. He runs back. He's back in a flash, preacher. And I'm like, Trav, did you use soap? No, sir. And he runs back in bed, and he comes back. And you say, what are you doing? With children, and we understand that with raising children, over and over and over again, we speak to them. Firm handshake. Look them in the eye. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Do right behavior always. Can I tell you, we never outgrow that. Never. Never. I don't care if you're 70 or 7. Right behavior always. Integrity demands it. Remember one time I was going to church and going right by the front of our church, and it's on a fairly busy road. And as I turned the corner and I'm driving on the yellow line in the middle of the road, I noticed something that looked like a wallet. And so I'm driving. It's kind of like one of these things where you go, well, just at that time, a car went the other way. And either the tire hit that wallet or just the current from his vehicle. All of a sudden, preacher, I see bills start blowing up in the air. Money, greenbacks, dollars, whatever. And I'm like, whoa. That car kept going on a Sunday morning. I don't know about here, but our roads are sadly not crowded on Sunday mornings. I pulled over. I get out. And man, they're 50s, all of them. And I'm just picking up 50s as much as I could. And I grab the wallet and I get in the car and I go to church. And I open the wallet and there's a contact in there. So I call the guy. I'm like, hey, did you lose your wallet? He's like, I did. I said, how much money did you have in there? And at that point, I had like 500, might have been a little more. He's like, I don't even know. I'm thinking, what are you, a drug dealer? You don't even know how much money's in your wallet? What are you doing? So I said, look, I'm a pastor of a church. I've got to go in and teach a Sunday school class. I said, but I'll have my wife meet you right under the steeple. Man, come pick it up. Oh, thank you. And so I'm teaching Sunday school, and I'm thinking, I bet you we just are going to get enough for lunch or dinner out of this thing. There's no way this guy's going to come back, and man, someone's just handing him $500 plus in money and all of that. And so after Sunday school, I'm like, hey, did you meet that guy? Oh, yeah, he was thankful. I'm like, did he give you anything? She's like, no. I'm like, man, you got to be kidding me. Cheapskate. So I leave, pull out of church, going back the same way. I'm driving. Now I'm on the other side of the road. But in the kind of high grass, I see more bills. And I'm like, all right. So I grab them. It's another 3 or 4 50s, whatever. So I'm like, I don't have his wallet. But I'm like, no, I do have that number on my cell phone. And I'm thinking, but I already gave him. And he didn't give me any. So I'm like, oh, right behavior always. So I call the guy. I'm like, how far away are you? He's like, I'm like 30 minutes. I'm like, I found more money. Did you look? He's like, no. I'm like, all right, well, if you want to come get it, I'll be right there. And don't you know, he took every one, and that was it. And I'm like, man. But you know what it is? It's the right thing. It's the right thing. And it's the way we're supposed to live. I can't go on and tell us. One time I'm trying to teach Travis this. Don't throw trash on the ground. It seems like I'm always teaching Travis things. And but you have one, you know what I mean? So we're in Brooklyn. We're singing for Brother Kazis or Brother Morgan there at International Baptist Church in Brooklyn. They always take us to get pizza. New York City pizza is just phenomenal, off the charts, depending on where you go. Well, don't you know, we come out of this pizza place, it's pouring rain and blowing wind like crazy. And I don't know why, but we had a paper plate in our hand, and we're just kind of like taking the last bite of our pizza, got to get back, get over the bridge, get into New Jersey. And it's blowing and it's raining, and I go to throw this plate, and he's with me, in a trash can. And I don't know why we don't always just take the extra step and just put it in, but I did one of those reach out things, and when I let it go, it blew. And I'm like, it's raining. I'm standing, and my kid's just looking at me. And it's like, you've taught me, do not, and if you drop trash on the ground, you pick it up. And I'm like, oh, right behavior always. Are you kidding me? You know, I'm like, I'm in Brooklyn. There's trash everywhere. It doesn't matter. You know, it's just what. So you run and you pick it up and you put it in there. But we've got to live by this all the time. Next, put this down, letter I. Immorality destroys it. Immorality destroys it. We see in Judges chapter 16 the story of Samson. Oh, and the Spirit of God came upon Samson, and the Spirit of God came upon Samson, and the Spirit of God came upon Samson. And can I tell you this? Immorality ruined his life. It ruined him. It ruined a man of God. Can I say this? It'll ruin you. Stay pure. Mentally, stay pure. Physically, stay pure. Your children, and I'm so thankful, and I didn't get to be part of the sessions where you tried to give some things to help the young people stay pure with all of the social media and all of the devices and the computers and all that. I beg you to stay pure. The one you're sitting with today, the ones you're trying to raise, they need parents with integrity. Marriages are blowing up. Churches are blowing up. You say, Mike, why aren't our churches as strong as they were? Because our families aren't as strong. We need strong families. We need families with integrity, immorality, internet, television. I love the verse in Romans chapter 16 that teaches us this: we're to be simple concerning evil. Pastor Pete mentioned it earlier. Part of the reason he doesn't watch the news, you sit there with your children, and the topics on the news are not fit for adults, by the way, let alone children to be hearing and educated and be simple concerning evil. And I understand we need to know a little bit about what's going on in our politics and our world, and I'm not saying you totally live under a rock, but I'm also saying this: every article is not worthy of our reading. We need to be morally pure people, and immorality is killing us. Gentlemen, it's happening all the time. Ladies, it's happening all the time. Avoid immorality. Our neighbor across the street is not a saved person, and they're from France. They own 2 restaurants in Philadelphia, and I noticed their house went up for sale, and so I asked the wife, and in her broken English, she came over from France to be with her husband, and he met his old girlfriend on Facebook, and he's back in France, and she lives across the street from me, and she's going to sell the house and then go back home. And there was a home, and we had known their boys and 2 businesses. We've invited them to church. They've been out to church. But can I tell you, that home is destroyed by immorality. And immorality will destroy your integrity. It brings generals with their uniforms pinned up incredibly. We look and go, wow. Brings them to their knees in ruin. Immorality is an awful thing. Do not err, my beloved brethren. Keep yourselves pure. Put this down. Temptation / testing reveals it. Temptation and testing reveals it being integrity. How do we know Job was a man of integrity? Well, we read in Job chapter 2, verse 3, that in all these things, Job went through this testing. Job went through this trial. And in all these things, he maintained his integrity. How do we know Joseph was a man of integrity? Well, because of his brothers and because of Potiphar's wife. That's when you find out whether or not you're a man or a woman of integrity. And can I say this? It's going to come your way. Matthew chapter 4, Jesus himself, being tempted of the devil, did not sin, did not lose his integrity. In all points he was tempted like we are, yet without sin. And he is the only perfect one. But it's the temptation and the testing that is going to reveal whether or not you have integrity. Can I say this? Sitting here this morning, this afternoon, is not a test of your integrity. The test of your integrity is going to come this afternoon. When you go on the computer to check something, and all of a sudden something pops up and is calling for you to click on it. And that's not why I came here, but look at this article and you know I shouldn't look at it. She's not dressed right. It's amazing. We got Travis a Jeep for Christmas, and so you look at YouTube and Google and all this stuff for Jeep stuff and all that. And you know, it's amazing. They'll go after the men. Fixing cars. How do you do this to a Jeep? Put a new this on a Jeep, or put the new top on the Jeep. And all they need to do, Pastor Folger, and you know it's true, put a woman doing it on there, not dressed appropriately. And it's amazing. 2,000 views, 1,500 views, 1,800 views, 330,000 views. You know what they're doing? They're going after the men. And here we are as Christian men. It's like, do I have integrity or not? I love my wife. I love my kids. Before I go and click anywhere I shouldn't, am I who they think I am? Am I who I say I am? Am I who I tell them to be? We've got to keep ourselves. And it's going to come after you. The opportunity will come to where you're in a tough situation, and telling the truth is going to make you feel super awkward. Integrity or not, you're going to do the right thing. And it's testing and temptation that reveals it. Discussion goes the wrong direction. Are we going to gossip or not? Are we going to shut it down or not? Are we going to be honest or not? Are we going to be clean or not? And I'm telling you, you'll walk out of here. At work, it'll happen. The jokes will come. Monday morning, you're going to laugh, or you're going to get away from it. The kids will go to school, and the conversation will go. Are they going to do the right thing or not? You're going to cheat or not? You're going to be honest or not? And it's the temptation and the testing that comes our way that really reveals if we're people of integrity or not. And then I do want you to turn to this verse, Proverbs chapter 20, and put this down, letter Y, lastly, Proverbs chapter 20. Your future depends on it. Proverbs chapter 20. Your future depends on it. This is a family conference, and I believe, does the front of your handout have a compass on it? Is that right? Yeah. Compasses indicate our direction, where we're going. Everybody listen to me. Where you go in life, what God does with you, all comes back to whether or not you're people of integrity. The direction of your life is directly linked to your integrity. And here we have your future depends on it. Lastly, Proverbs chapter 20, verse 7. The just man walketh in his integrity. His children are blessed after him. I don't believe it's just that the children of people with integrity are blessed. I believe you're blessed as well. I believe that's implied here in the scripture, that when you have integrity, the just man walketh in his integrity. You're going to be blessed for that. And his children are blessed after him. Your future depends on whether or not you have integrity. You'll be blessed, and your children will be blessed. God cannot use those who do not have integrity. Your marriage, your career, your ministry, everything depends on it. And there are precious little ones represented in this room. Whether they be your children or your grandchildren or your Sunday school class or the people that you minister into this church, listen to me. Your future ministry depends on your integrity. Your marriage is depending on your integrity. Your parenting is hinged and linked to your integrity. Do you have integrity? Are you a person of integrity? Baseball, I enjoy it. I remember back in the steroid era. Some of you remember that, with Bonds and McGuire and these different guys that are hitting home run after home run after home run after home run. And really what they were doing is they were ruining the history of baseball. People that played fairly, that had integrity, and guys without integrity are now cheating. And they made this statement, the future of the game is at stake. And it even went, which is amazing to me, to the Congress. And we've got our government officials talking about baseball and this awful cheating that's going on and what they're going to do about it. But they were looking at America's pastime and saying, it's going to be ruined if we don't have integrity. Well, can I say this? There's something more important than baseball. And that's your life. And your future with what God is going to do with you is dependent on your integrity. And you know what? It's somewhat sad that in our culture, you can still be successful though you lack integrity. I say successful in the eyes of people. I pray that our president does well, but I highly question his integrity. Bill Clinton, it was proven. Here's our president. He lacked integrity. But we look the other way. And we could name business owner after athlete after, and the world will say, we'll kind of look away from it and still allow you to. But can I tell you this? Listen to me, God doesn't. God doesn't. Can't happen. He's a holy God. He's a just God. And so when it comes to integrity and what God's going to do with you, your future depends on it. I will do right even if it's not easy. I will make sure there's no difference between what I do and what I say. I will do right when no one is watching. Like, Mike, we're not kids. I know we're adults. We're grown-up kids who still have flesh and get tempted to do wrong. I will be in private what I portray myself to be in public. On the inside, I will be what I portray myself to be on the outside. Can I also say this to you? I stand here today delivering this lesson to you. We come from Philadelphia, New Jersey area. You sit there and give us the benefit of the doubt. These kids are good kids. They're singing for the Lord. Mike is a man of God who loves God. Integrity is being on the inside what I portray myself to be. And that means this, for all of you pastors, Sunday school teachers, parents. When you stand up and teach a lesson, it is assumed that you've walked with God, that you've been in the Word, and that you are standing there as a man or a woman of God to deliver that message. Can I say, be that? Be that. Mom and dads, when you correct your kids and you tell them what is right and what is wrong, the assumption is there that you're doing right and not the wrong. I don't want to be clouds without rain. I don't want to pull a message out of a folder and just come to Cleveland and I'm not praying and I'm not reading and I stand here and I look okay in the clothes that I wear and I stand before you. But watch me, God sees through all of that. And it's not always just the evil that we may be involved in that we ought not to be involved in, but the truth that we really are men and women of God. Moms and dads who walk with Jesus, Sunday school teachers who walk with God, bus workers who walk with God, people of prayer, people in the Word. Let's be real. Let's be real. Let's be people of integrity. And then God can use us in an incredible incredible way. So going through it quickly, in review. Ready? Integrity and the need for it. It's individual. My dad can't ruin my integrity, but my dad can't give me integrity. And that goes for every person in this room. It's an individual thing. No one may know that you don't have it, but you know. Right now, you know, and the Holy Spirit would put in your mind, there's an area of my life where I'm not what people think I am. Or if people knew, they would think differently of me. Eventually, they're going to know. And the marriage will blow up. And the church will be without a pastor. And you will lose your job. And whatever it is, you fill in the blank. Your parents will be brokenhearted. Your kids will be crushed. But you might be at a spot right now where only you know. And God. You better deal with it. Truth, always. Always. Be fanatical about telling the truth. Letter E, everyone is affected by it. If I lose my integrity, I've got kids and nieces and a church and a family going to be crushed. Everyone is affected by it. God knows. God knows. Ananias and Sapphira. Right behavior always. Immorality destroys it. It is killing our nation, men and women. Keep yourselves pure. Testing and temptation, that's what's going to reveal it. Hit your finger with the hammer. We'll find out if you have integrity. Yeah, I've been there. Oh, I've been in the outfield of a ball game, Pastor Pete, and run a guy next to me on my team, and man, the ball hits off his glove, Pastor, and all of a sudden, and he says something, I'm like, whoa. I'm thinking, all right, I didn't expect that. It's the temptation and testing that reveal it. And then lastly, your future depends on it. And Mike, we learned today about being a good parent. We learned about, being a mom, being a dad, working with our kids, teaching our children this, teaching that, you can learn everything in the world. And if you lose your integrity, you're done. And so am I. And I'm all for learning all of that, but we must be people of integrity. Can you imagine if everybody at Cleveland Baptist Church were people of integrity? We'd see revival. Everybody in my church the same way. God sees it. For God's glory, with God's help, ask Him to help you to tighten up any area you may need to. He said this, you're going to be blessed, and watch this, your children will be blessed after you. Do you know how blessed kids are that are growing up in a home where mom and dad were people of integrity? And even greater, grandparents were people of integrity. Oh, what a heritage that is. But when they lose it, it's not a blessing that comes their way. It's the curse that comes their way, and pain that comes their way, and difficulty and confusion, and all of the above. God helps to be people of integrity.